Welcome to a technological revolution, where computer-generated visuals are so advanced that we can speak with virtual humans just like they're real people. Artificial intelligence is such a part of everyday life that it's allowing us new ways to create, changing how we view and use transportation, transforming the organization and efficiency of supply chains, and helping with medical breakthroughs in early illness detection and advanced prosthetics. It's revolutionizing how we work, streamlining manufacturing and design. This is technology evolving in plain sight and changing how we interact with almost every industry. So, as we visualize this future, we're asking, what companies will shape the world of 2025? This is Show Us the Money. We're a team of dedicated researchers highlighting the companies we believe will play a defining role in the world of 2025 and hold the potential to deliver strong investment returns. It's not financial advice, we just bring you our research. So what are we looking at today? We're gonna explore Nvidia, one of the leading chip aka semiconductor companies. From launching their first GPU in 1999, Nvidia has expanded into other areas, including AI chips used in data centers, drug development, driverless cars, and they have big ambitions. Let's hear it from Jensen Huang, CEO.
NVIDIA is going to be huge no matter what. The growth opportunity ahead of us for artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, industrial robotics, 5G edge, those applications are going to make us a very large company.
So, after we dig into the business, we'll ask the question, what could an investment in Nvidia now be worth in 2025? We'll cover some of the various fields where Nvidia already leads and also where their technology could be revolutionary in the future. Gaming, AI and computer vision, 5G and the Internet of Things. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that Nvidia is also putting its stamp on. Before we get into the details, let's first explain the main terms you should know when talking about semiconductor companies. CPU, GPU, and 5G. So the central processing unit, or the CPU as it's referred to, can be considered the brain of a computer. Without it, a computer simply couldn't function because these chips contain the basic logic to perform general tasks. More advanced chips would be graphic processing units, or GPUs. And yeah, a GPU can be considered the soul of a computer. It's an independent chip, and it handles the visuals, or graphics as the name would suggest, but also other specialized tasks. Now, when we talk about 5G, we mean the fifth and newest generation of cellular network technology. It's what improves your smartphone's data speeds, texts, and calls. Hopefully that helps to clarify some of the terms we're going to be using. Let's begin with their first revolution, gaming. If you've seen our AMD video, you'll notice that both Nvidia and AMD have some similarities, but they both have different strengths. So while we saw AMD as a leader in CPUs, the computer brain stuff, Nvidia's real strengths are in GPUs, the specialized stuff like high-performance graphics. GPUs are particularly important for the video game industry as they allow for high-quality visuals, and this is Nvidia's core business. So while AMD does have a strong presence in gaming via consoles, the real big player in PC gaming is Nvidia. Increasing the realism in how gameplay looks has been a continuous goal in gaming, and each new generation of machine is often accompanied by a huge improvement in both graphical fidelity and the performance of the machines themselves. Nvidia has been the leader here for over 2 decades with their GeForce GPUs. The company's niche really is in PC gaming, where their GPUs can power the most visually demanding games. But Nvidia also enables on-the-go gaming through their GeForce Now service, so PC games can be streamed and played on any device, even your smartphone, sort of like Netflix for your games. Because of their deep experience in gaming, Nvidia has also been able to evolve their technology to include other elements like product design and augmented reality. This, alongside virtual reality, could be a huge market in the coming years because of its many potential uses, allowing for everything from realistic visual experiences in tourism to automotive design, architectural uses in construction, or as an educational tool. Virtual reality could even prove beneficial in mental health treatments. So their ability to be multi-purpose in various different fields and industries could prove very beneficial to Nvidia in the years to come. Let's take a look at the growth of Nvidia's gaming segment. Nvidia controls 83% of the PC gaming GPU market, a rapidly expanding area with estimates of PC gamers reaching 1.8 billion in the coming years. Yeah, we were honestly surprised too. That's almost a quarter of the world's population playing PC games. And despite a global chip shortage, which we will discuss later, shipments of PC GPUs still rose throughout 2021. Nvidia dominates this market. The global health crisis was actually beneficial to the gaming sector as a whole because people had to stay at home for prolonged periods, so they upgraded their computers and played video games. This market environment led to an increase in Nvidia's gaming revenues for 2021, up 61% compared to 2020, mainly thanks to higher sales of the GeForce GPU range, and it's clear that demand is still growing. Now, applying a growth rate to this segment of 25% annually from 2021 out to 2025 is probably too conservative on our part, but it would still see Nvidia's gaming revenues grow almost 2.5 times by the end of that period. And bear in mind, these figures are only focused on gaming. We haven't included projections for the possible design applications or virtual reality markets, the stuff we mentioned earlier like tourism, because it's still early days for that area. We'll revisit gaming's growth in our overall financial wrap-up. We also have regularly updated financial videos, so you can check out how Nvidia is performing. Now let's have a look at AI and computer vision. Outside of visuals, Nvidia also entered other markets, most notably data centers. These are physical facilities where companies store their vital applications and information. But what made this unique is that Nvidia focused on the importance of artificial intelligence, AI, and way ahead of their competitors too. So they developed specific hardware and software solutions, and thanks to this early focus, they have a real advantage in the AI field. Artificial intelligence requires an enormous amount of computer processing power because it's essentially training a machine to behave or think like a human. Well, hopefully they behave better than humans, but AI use cases vary from advancements in technology to healthcare to education. Consider bringing iconic individuals from the past back to life for history class. And one groundbreaking branch of AI is computer vision. This is at the peak of disruptive technology, and graphics chips are perfect for helping computers to see. An example of this can be found through Nvidia-backed projects like smart grocery shopping, reliant on computer vision. So, you go into the store, grab what you want, and then get out. No checkouts. Oh, and it'll be legal. The store's AI will see what you bought and bill you afterwards. I mean, it's definitely a bit Big Brother-y, but that's the future for you. Now, we know this is a lot to take in, and as we've established, computer vision is definitely cool. But it's not all that's going on in AI. So let's talk about neural networking. This is what helps to train machines on a large scale. Nvidia has a virtual monopoly here, as more than 90% of neural network training runs on their GPUs. Interestingly, electric vehicle company Tesla currently uses Nvidia GPUs for training their autonomous fleet of vehicles. So while AMD chips power a Tesla car's entertainment system, Nvidia chips power the car's AI. Nvidia saw the big shifts coming in advance, AI and autonomy. So they crafted their drive chips specifically for self-driving cars. The drive chip will act as the brain for NIO's first autonomous car. NIO is an electric vehicle company, often considered to be China's own Tesla. And alongside NIO, the drive chip will also be used for Baidu's autonomous cars, not to mention several robocar startups. On top of this, a partnership with automaker Jaguar Land Rover will see Nvidia's drive technology in all Jaguar vehicles from 2025 on. That's a while away yet, but it shows the belief that Jaguar has in the technology. with Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang stating that next-generation cars will transform automotive into one of the largest and most advanced technology industries. The company has also partnered with modern tech giants like Amazon and Microsoft, alongside legacy behemoths like IBM, as these companies want to maximize their AI capabilities. And more demand for Nvidia data center chips is going to come from the ever-increasing interest in the metaverse and all of its possibilities. The metaverse is effectively placing you inside the internet through your own customizable virtual avatar. In fact, Facebook's parent company Meta Platforms announced in January 2022 that their AI supercomputer will be built using Nvidia technology. And since we're talking about the metaverse, Nvidia also has their own development platform for designing and creating 3D simulations, fittingly called the Omniverse. Using digital twins, which are virtual representations of physical objects and spaces. For example, the design of a factory can be optimized digitally before it's built physically, and also to train autonomous robots to a facility's layout and specifications prior to them being put to work in it. So, the Omniverse brings together Nvidia's particular skills in high-performance computing, graphics, and artificial intelligence. Let's have a look at AI and computer vision growth. So, as we've seen, the convergence of AI with high-performance computing is what's going to drive a number of tech revolutions. And these revolutions exist within high-growth markets, namely GPU-powered data centers and autonomous vehicles. Nvidia's automotive revenue has already begun to shift towards self-driving and AI-based cockpit solutions, while the company's acquisition of Mellanox has allowed Nvidia to scale up their AI data center business. Mellanox is a company that supplies computer networking products and has been a big reason for Nvidia's data center revenues growing by 58% in 2021. Now, AI is not an overly saturated market, and neither is it far along in its life cycle. But as we like to be a bit safer with our estimates, we're going to place an annual growth rate of 27% from 2021 out to 2025. Now that is conservative, and even assumes a loss in market share for Nvidia's data centers. But it would still see revenues for this segment improve over 2.5 times that of 2021. We'll come back to this in our overall financial wrap-up. And remember, we have other videos exploring other game-changing companies, so we recommend you check them out too. 5G and the Internet of Things. So, from that title, it'll come as no surprise that Nvidia also has an expanding presence in 5G technology. This wireless tech increases data speeds and coverage, so in practical terms, data transfers or downloads are much faster and connections to other devices much better. In the coming years, 5G will continue to be a huge business opportunity. Now with this technology, Nvidia also opens itself up to the Internet of Things, which includes having chips in normal appliances so they can be programmed to function remotely. We'll give you some examples. Let's say you're on your way home from work and it's cold out. Well, you could tell your radiator to start heating the house before you step through the door. You can even text your kettle and tell it to boil, that sort of thing. So it's making your house smart. Let's take a look at the potential growth of 5G and the Internet of Things. So this segment has arguably some of the biggest potential for Nvidia, with continually growing demand coming from new use cases such as smart grids, connected cars, and industrial automation. But this is only the start. Currently, Nvidia is partnering with Google Cloud to enable any enterprise to develop, test, and adopt solutions that will help accelerate the creation of smart cities, smart factories, and other advanced 5G and AI applications. At the moment, Nvidia does not publish revenues from their 5G segment, but we envision the company taking a share of the industrial 5G Internet of Things market over the coming years. The general upside for this segment is potentially huge. Some analysts are forecasting the global smart cities market to become worth trillions of dollars this decade. So we're not even going to try and come up with an X here, but we'll talk more about 5G in the overall financial wrap-up. Now let's look at some of the other stuff that Nvidia is involved in, other potentially revolutionary stuff. The company kept its eye on other new technologies, and in 2021 released a new processor specifically for mining cryptocurrency, So yeah, Nvidia now has GPUs for gaming, mining, and artificial intelligence. It's like a GPU Swiss Army knife. You will occasionally notice some crossover between semiconductor companies, like for data centers, but also for entire industries served. For example, Nvidia also has a presence in the medical field. Medical applications powered by Nvidia go from early Alzheimer's detection, across cancer diagnostics, to detecting strokes with 95% accuracy. And the scientific research is not just medical. Nvidia is even collaborating with NASA to more effectively understand air pollution's effects on the environment, and also for Mars landing preparations. Oh, and you'll also see Nvidia starring in blockbusters, as they already have a strong presence in the movie industry. Now, as we can see from all this other stuff, Nvidia is aiming to have a place in every upcoming industry that needs technology. It's clear that Nvidia has big plans. Let's wrap up Nvidia. So, when looking at any semiconductor company, supply and demand is always part of the picture, but at the moment, there's one big elephant in the room that affects all of these companies, and that is the chip shortage. This has stemmed from the global health crisis of 2020. In a nutshell, the stay-at-home orders resulted in a massive surge in demand for consumer tech products like laptops, phones, and video games. The problem with the heightened demand is that the highest quality chips are made by one particular company, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC. The importance of Taiwan Semi to the whole chip industry cannot be overstated, and Nvidia is highly reliant on them. But TSMC's production is overstretched at present, and they're running at full capacity for chip production. Tech companies simply can't get their hands on enough chips to make their products. And while companies like Nvidia design their own chips, they don't manufacture them, so their reliance on TSMC is real. And even companies who can manufacture their own chips like Samsung or Intel, they're not as technologically advanced as TSMC. So this problem is across the board, and it's expected to continue well into 2022 until supply can meet demand. This is a big topic, but that's a brief overview. Nvidia has of course been affected by the shortages in terms of supply. However, their pricing power has been beneficial to them. High quality products that people are willing to pay for. Being in demand can be useful. And as we've seen, the company is only going to grow with the upcoming industries that are changing our world. The list of huge companies reliant on Nvidia's products is constantly growing. Tesla, NIO, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, IBM, Baidu, you totally get the picture. Nvidia is the dominant player in GPUs, and the competition is not a major issue here. Well, yet. AMD does have plans. But Nvidia's chips have gone from revolutionizing gaming to powering nearly every major AI breakthrough so far, all while the company expands into other industries. So, Nvidia is definitely looking forward, and it's been said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. We're going to look at the company's finances next, but it's important to realize that any future-looking statements are just estimates. This is not investment advice. The content of this video is for educational purposes only, and it's based on our own research, but of course, we could be wrong. When it comes to investing, it's very important to do your own research. Remember, an investment decision can be a big decision, and ultimately, it's your decision. Company stock prices can vary wildly, and it's common for the market or individual companies to have dips called corrections, or even severe drops, for example in times of recession. So when you look at the long-term stock performance of a well-established company, it can sometimes look like the stock just goes up. But when you zoom in closely to a shorter time frame, let's say a year, you'll see the line become jagged. It can even look like a mountain range in volatile years, but it certainly won't be straight up. So there will be dips, and in some years massive drops, possibly 40, 50% or even more. But for a fundamentally strong company, these dips are likely temporary, and when we zoom out to the long term, we can see they regain their position and continue incrementally up over time. If a business has a strong competitive advantage and is built to be anti-fragile, then this should be positively reflected in the stock price over the long term. And that is very important, the long term. Let's have a look at Nvidia's finances. Now, we're going to compare the revenue each segment generated in 2021 with an estimate for 2025. Keeping in mind that revenue growth does not mean stock price growth, but it's important to look at how a business has been performing and how it could progress. So let's get into it, starting with the gaming segment. In 2021, the company generated nearly $12.5 billion in gaming revenues. Now, applying a 25% growth rate out to 2025, we get to roughly $30.4 billion. This is our near 2.5x from earlier. And the company is on track to meet or exceed this growth rate. For AI and computer vision, this segment generated around $11.2 billion in 2021. And remember, that includes data centers alongside things like automotive and robotics. If we apply a growth rate of 27%, we get to revenues of $29.1 billion in 2025. That's another 2.5x. This is likely too conservative for this segment though. Data centers are considered a high growth market, and Nvidia stands to benefit greatly in this area. Now, 5G and Internet of Things is interesting. We don't have figures for this segment because it's still early stages and Nvidia doesn't report it. The potential use cases can make estimates vary wildly. If we're talking about chatting to your kitchen appliances, then it's quantifiable. But if we're talking about powering smart cities, then we're into multi-trillion-dollar markets. So we're not actually going to add a value here. Having said that, even if Nvidia took a tiny percentage of that market, then you guarantee it'll be something, and possibly a lot of something. And finally, Nvidia reports revenue from the sales of things like professional visualization equipment and original equipment heading to outside manufacturers, coming in at a not immaterial $3.2 billion for 2021. A lot of this equipment would come under that other stuff category that we mentioned. Now, if we apply a 16% growth rate out to 2025, then these segments could potentially bring in close to $5.8 billion, representing an increase of 1.8 times 2021's figure. So adding up the revenues from all the different segments, we can see that in 2021, what they call their fiscal year 2022, but sure look, Nvidia generated $26.9 billion in revenue. Looking out to 2025, we see this total reaching over $65.3 billion. This would mean total revenues increasing nearly 2.5 times their 2021 levels. Again, this is potential revenue growth, it's not a stock price assumption. So, as we've seen, Nvidia is still the powerhouse in its core competence of gaming, but the company has been expanding into other hugely important markets for the future, things like data centers, artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, not to mention 5G and the Internet of Things. The future looks strong for Nvidia, and if anything, it's because they're the ones building it. So we'll leave you with a question. What could an investment in Nvidia now be worth in 2025? If you want to see more short documentaries like this, go to our YouTube channel or LinkedIn page. Make sure to subscribe or follow, and there, you'll be able to enjoy more of our videos.